Welcome all to the class. Welcome to this conscious union with God, in which we use the book of Joel as Goldsmith to say use it for transformation. In fact, for transformation of mind. And so I'm happy that you joined and that you don't run away from it, and but that you show up, because that was really the only requirement, to show up. You love to do all kinds of tasks, but this one is the only, say, activity where just your presence is enough. And because then it will happen to you. There's not so much asked of you, but it's happening to you, and you got to expose yourself to that. So, and this is one of the places where you can do that. This is one of the moments in which you can let that occur. So today, starting off with relaxation, with, say, opening ourselves up for a message, for a whole new idea for ourselves that we actually don't like to accept immediately most of the time, but it takes a moment. But anyway, you are here. You're welcome to take that in. So in order to do that, it's much easier when you relax and when you let this come to you, instead of that you're actively pursuing something. Because see, the requirement was to show up, and that's really important to remember. So you made it. This is the moment. So we're entering into a whole moment together, and this whole moment is given us, and we don't have to make it whole. We don't have to do a lot. Say, we don't have to make it to something. No, it is literally letting it be and seeing that it's complete and whole and perfect. So, and that can be a bit of work, by letting go of your ideas, letting go of your concerns, letting go of what you think happened a moment ago. So let's forget about that. You don't need that. Let it go. Let it go. And see, some breathing will help to just, oh yes, I'm in a good place. I can let it all fall apart right now. I'm just going to relax right into it. So, and also in the recognition that by doing so, you actually become aware that you are communicating. So maybe you had the feeling already when we just started this class. It's like, oh yeah, there's a bit of a different energy. It's different than just a regular turning on your television kind of thing. No, it is presence. It's like that has a certain intensity, because it's alive. It's a living principle. And when the energy is flowing, you have a recognition with it too. So, and that's what you feel. It's like there's light presence, there's communication going on, because this is not like that you can turn off or turn on the communication. No, actually your awareness brings it into your awareness, that you are aware that you're communicating, that's going on all the time. So it cannot be turned off. You can not be aware of it, but in the end, it is happening anyway. It is continuous, because it's literally what life is. It is communication. So anyway, we're here. You made it. Today is the chapter that we use is making the adjustment. And that's pretty vague, right? Making the adjustment to what, you ask? It's like, well, what am I adjusting to? Well, actually, I already said it. It's like opening yourself up for the communication that is already there. Joel says it in his way. He uses certain words to try to convey it to you, what he means. But I'm sure that this specific chapter is also, say, difficult to hear what it says. Like, it's not so easy to read, because you can be tempted to think that you understand what he's saying. See, and that's where already something is missing, because this has nothing to do with your ideas. It has nothing to do with your understanding. And that is always a hard nut to crack for us we intellectuals, so to speak, for us intellectuals, if you describe yourself like that. So it's any self-description that you give yourself has nothing to do with it. It's like, no, I'm an intuitive. Well, that has nothing to do with it either. Or I'm this or that. Any kind of self-definition of your identity is not what God is. See, there's a lot of, say, material presented in this chapter that you actually don't really like to hear. It is not popular, it's not popular to think certain things that are being shared here. And so I bumped up against like 4 different things that are not particularly attractive to accept, but you know that you actually don't have a choice in it, even though you might be fighting against it. Anyway, I will mention all those, and not to make them real, but to see that there's the ridiculousness basically of the defense, like the ridiculousness of the defense, of the resistance. So that can be quite embarrassing today. That's what you will hear. So I hope you still like to go on with the class, or maybe you want to turn this off right away. So this is really like beautiful stuff for transformation. That's how I see this this chapter, but also basically the message is transformational. It is not keeping you in the identity that you have. It's like confirming the things that you love to present yourself as, or just the, say, exchange of ideas about philosophy or about spirituality. This, like, that has nothing to do with it. So you ask, what are we doing then here? What is it that we do here? Well, basically, like I said in the beginning too, we're opening ourselves up for a whole different experience of ourselves. And that is, that's being said a lot of times, but actually now you have a possibility to really say, have an experience like that, because this is like, it makes it so clear in a moment. It will be so clear what you don't have to do. Like, there's a lot of things you don't have to do in your transformation. Well, we'll mention some of that today. That's really helpful, because see, there's in order for this moment to be perfect, I already told you that there's not much that we have to do, just showing up for it and being present in it, and not be distracted by anything. It's like, no, just stay right here. Stay right here with your attention. This is where it's happening, and say it is perfect. It's given you in this moment. So I'll read a little bit from the chapter. Okay, so to make it clear where Joel is coming from, the infinite way stands wholly and completely on the revelation of Jesus as given in the gospel according to John. There's no deviation from Jesus' teaching in one single particle, nor are we, in explaining or elucidating it, adding to it or taking from it in any way. It is accepted absolutely as it stands in the revelation of Jesus. And then what is that? I am life eternal. I am the way, the truth, and the light. I am the resurrection. Not I will be resurrected. No, I am the resurrection. Not that there is some kind of a law of God which is going to act upon us, or act upon me, but I am the resurrection. I'm the bread. Not I will be supplied with bread, but I'm the bread. I'm the water. I'm the wine. When you stand on that, Joel says, you stand on the revelation that you are infinite spiritual consciousness, infinite spiritual life itself. And being infinite, all inclusive, including within your own being, every activity of being. See, that's great, because he brings it straight away out there. So it's like, yes, it has nothing to do with the ideas I hold about myself. So the description or the experience that he's referring to is the experience of Jesus. I'm the resurrection and the life. Is the revelation, basically, or the experience of your Christ mind, of the direct revelation given to you. You know, that's where this is about. It is about your revelation, about your experience of this. See, and that has nothing to do with thinking about it or having ideas about it or trying to implement this in your life or nothing like that. It's like, no, this is really deeply intimate in that sense. It brings you to yourself. It brings you to sitting still, having that occur to you, saying that is going to be the discipline. That is where it's going to bring you, however that's going to be revealed to you. See, it's not directly applicable in your world. So it's like, yeah, you can forget about that. That is not directly applicable to your world. No, you will have to accept it first for yourself. We said this many times, but see, hearing it is always quite different. Like, you can hear this on a deeper level this time. It has nothing to do with the world that you see. It has to do with you being the resurrection. But you opening yourself up, say, being available for a revelation of yourself. But you giving up your defenses against defending your own self-identity. See, now I already go one step further. So this idea of self-identity will be coming into it. So here, Joel says, in fact, it's like it's in every activity of your being. See, and the activity of your being has nothing to do with this world. So that's really important to remember. It has nothing to do with that. See, and that is, you cannot believe that as a human being, but having an experience of the totality of who you are, having an experience of your Christ mind, becomes obvious that those two don't go together. So any conflict that you perceive in your life, or any conflict that you see others have, or you're in the middle of it, who knows how that's going to look, is always thinking that, like, this conflict is always a confusion about your identity. You know, it's a confusion about your identity because your Christ mind is not of this world. So any conflict that you are, say, perceiving has nothing to do with that. So now you can try to fix it with a phrase or something from the Bible or from Jesus, but that's not going to do anything. You know, you have these, the great example is Jesus being in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's like he's sitting there. He has quite a life behind himself. You know, he has been healing. He has been doing this and doing that. Like, he is completely like an incredible figure on earth, right? In the way that I read it, it's like, yes, he's wonderful how he was present, how he is present. Then he sits in the Garden of Gethsemane. And then he asked for, like, please let this go by, you know. In fact, also, my God, why have thou forsaken me? And what does he hear then? Does God come down and help him out? No, not at all. You know, not at all. No, God is not coming down, confirming his, like, pitiful situation that he's in. No, just for that one moment, he sees, like, no, it has nothing to do with this place. It has nothing to do with the place that I find myself in my definition of myself. So that's like a perfect example, because it literally becomes completely quiet. All his disciples fall asleep. There's no God interfering, no divine intervention, and no this or that. Like, no, it's completely still. And does that take away his release in the end? No, it does not. But see, the whole mindedness, the complete resurrection has nothing to do with your daily life in that sense. So with the activities of your being, they are not taking place here. So however you try to combine those is just another expression of your, basically, of your split mind. So this goes really far, and you recognize this as a thing, as a topic, and you recognize it as a conflict that's running your life for a moment. Or maybe you grew over it. That's wonderful that you see, like, oh no, this revelation took place, I'm completely clean and clear about this. That's wonderful. See, in fact, and that brings me to another part of it, is like, there's a God authority in that sense. There's a God authority. We come into Joel's book too. It's like he talks about authority too. Like, there's a total authority, which is God. There's God, but we have a certain association with the idea of authority, of authorship, like of being the authority, and that is that we really don't like to accept a total authority over ourselves, because we love to have a little of our own too. This idea, like, well, I'm not asking for much, but just a little bit would be nice. So you would love to make a deal with God. It's like, partially, yes, I can accept the message, so to speak, the truth, but this little part I would love to keep for myself. And this is not going to work. But so you will get all the opportunities to get used to an idea that your, say, authority with a capital A is not going against your will, is not taking anything away from you, except maybe experiences of pain and limitation. So that's always the good thing. Like, no, this is the good news. This is the good news. It has nothing to do with your limited perspective. That's why it's so complete and whole and perfect. That's so good to remember, and that's what is bringing the joy and the happiness that is actually always talked about. Like, yes, perfect happiness. Yes, I would love to experience that, but how is that accomplished? How does that happen? Well, this is an essential step in it. So God appears in individual being. Okay, so Joel says here, and it's on page 102, and that's almost further than halfway down. So in that way alone, this is a radical departure, because you are working from the standpoint, I and the Father are one. Therefore, I include all that the Father has and all that the Father is. And so you commit a sin every time you allow your thought to go out into the realm of I desire, I want, or I fear. I and the Father are one, and all that the Father has is mine. I include all the qualities and activities of the Godhead. I am the very embodiment of all that the Father is, not because I deserve it, but because it is mine by grace. It is the gift of God to God's own creation. And that's kind of comforting to hear that. It's kind of comforting, because basically it's confirming your true identity, and that always feels complete. That is in the end, down the bottom of all of it is it what you want? It just sometimes take a moment to get there. and say letting go of all the other, say, desires, wants, fears, like, well, I'm not sure about this or that's going to work out, and then you come up with an alternative. See, all these things are not say helping you to feel the real comfort that is being, say, that is available to you. So that's why it's always good to remember that you can wait for the right time, wait for the answer, that you have all the time in the universe to receive this for yourself. You don't have to come with a temporary solution and drift off into that, you know. No, it is good to take time to let it come to you. See, that's why it's basically very easy. You don't have to come up with an alternative. No, they are going to be given to you. If there's one needed, it will be given. If there isn't one needed, it will not be given. It's not necessary. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ. Lo, I'm with you always, even unto the end of the world. See, that's an interesting one. Matthew says this, lo, I'm with you always. Matthew has recorded this in that sense. Lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the world. Lo, you're with me always, even unto the end of the world. So what is the world then, you ask, is, well, the world is your own ideas. How do we come to the end of that? What is there at the end of it? Lo is with me always, even to the end of time, like even into the end of the world. So you're good. Even if you come to the end of your own ideas, it will still be there. God will still be there. It is not the end of anything. Like, you're not going to miss out on anything. No, you're completely safe. Take no thought. That's on page 104. Take no thought. The approach of the infinite way is very radical. Also, in its following of the master, of the teachings of the master. Take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, what ye shall drink, not yet for your body, not what ye shall put on. We must come into this realization. My heavenly Father, which is my own infinite consciousness, knoweth what things I need of, and it is his good pleasure to give me the kingdom. It is his good pleasure to give me the kingdom. See, here's one more sentence. You must understand that this teaching is not meant to give you a method by which to demonstrate better or longer humanhood. Nor is it teaching of how to use your mind to get things or to do things for you, or to give you some power called God to bring you human things or human betterment. See, and this is the part that you really don't like. In fact, you know, it is the part of also thinking that you're entitled to certain things if you are on the spiritual path, thinking that God should listen to you, or at least like you're a bit disappointed that God doesn't give you exactly what you want in your daily life or in your world, you know. So that is interesting that you think that. And so one of the say other things that are related to this, I wrote some of it down, so that's why I have my little book here in front of me. One of the things, so you think that there's even that too. It's like in your awakening, it can be that you think like, well, there's something is really stopping me from doing this. You know, something is really stopping me. It's like this relationship I have is really limiting me in my awakening. It's really disturbing me. Or maybe these are just not the right circumstances to let this change occur. because of your good reasons, or this is also a good one. It's like, well, my past, the things that happened in my past are preventing me from having a full-blown experience of the love of God. And so we see these can be thoughts that are circling in your mind, say, helping you not to accept this message, which is not really a help at all. I understand that. But it's like, well, you got to recognize those thoughts that you hold about you waking up. Like that's why it can be a little bit disappointing if you have to let this adjustment take place, because that's what we're talking about today. Like there's an adjustment going on from your humanhood coming into the realization of your true identity, not as a switch that's being turned. No, you go through a process in which you actually are going to see that you have to let go of your ideas about yourself, and also all the misconceptions that you carry around. And so that's why I said in the beginning too, it's like so great to have the opportunity to just show up and be present. That's the only requirement. This is not about, okay, so I'm doing this so well, and you should acknowledge that, or anything in the world that I do, you should acknowledge it, because say I'm this, yeah, I deserve that. I deserve to be acknowledged in the things that I do in this world. See, and you say like, well, do I really have that? Do I really need to be confirmed in that? So, well, of course, I can only speak for myself. Yes, indeed. Like the frustration that comes up when that doesn't happen is like you start to question your value. Your say, do I have a right to have a good experience of my godliness, so to speak? You think that has to do with it too. So you're basically using your human situation or your daily life situation as a metering, like as a standard for your say being entitled to grace or anything like that, because it's your idea, your judgment about yourself, or you can't really call it a judgment, that you think that you might not have the right to receive that yet. So this is all that we use against receiving it, the message, the love experience, the revelation of I and the Father are one, or I am the resurrection. And you can keep doing that as long as you want. That just goes on and on and on. That's pretty amazing. So a lot of these ideas come up for healing, for change, for letting it go. It's like, well, that is just ridiculous to think like that. If there's an all-loving God, I'm included in that, and I'm entitled to my awakening. It is just for me that I have to remember that and not say slide off into self-judgment. So that is great. So there's a lot of same factors, a lot being stirred up by this chapter. Here it says in 104.2, this teaching, which is meant to take you out of your humanhood into the awareness of your spiritual identity. It is meant to take you out of your humanhood into this awareness of your spiritual identity. This is a way of life which teaches you how to be in the world but not of it. It is a way of life which teaches that from the beginning of time, since before Abraham was, I am, and that I will be right here until the end of the world, until the end of all your ideas. So it's all coming back to I am. So this teaching, which is meant to take you out of humanhood into the awareness of your spiritual identity, is what this is. Like that's what that is what I was sharing. It's like you cannot use any part of your humanhood to say defend yourself against the awakening that is taking place. So all these ideas you can let go of, and that is like a joyous occasion. Be happy that you can get rid of them. You know, they didn't bring you anything anyway, so you might as well give them away. You know, you might as well have them be, say, adjusted to your true identity. See, but all these things are important parts of the awakening experience, or the coming to an experience of resurrection. All these are really important parts. You cannot skip this at all. So that's why I mentioned them too. It's like so important. So in the end, it is, like I said, it is letting go of the ideas and seeing that it's all perfect, that yes, I'm as God created me, like I am one with my Father. I and my Father are one. And that is happening right now. It is not happening in the future. I don't have to wait until that is going to happen. No, you come to realize that it's happening right now, that is exactly what you were looking for and what is happening in this moment. So that's the experience that we offer to one another. Letting go of every judgment that you hold about your situation, your brother, your government, your who knows what, your universe. So that's great. Yes. Why not let go? Yeah. So there's so much more in this chapter. So I will keep. Oh, here's another one. I've overcome the world. How can anyone make that statement, I've overcome the world, as long as he has any anxiety about anything there is between the bottom of the ocean and the top of the stars? You cannot say, I have overcome the world, but I'm afraid of a bullet or an atomic bomb. You cannot even say that you have overcome the world if you fear or believe that death is a possibility or an inevitability, or that you will be any different from what you are this minute after you have experienced what the world calls death. Wow. So Joel is really going for it now in this part of it. It's like he brings in this idea, like, I've overcome the world. I've overcome the world. See, that's great as something to ponder, or something to take in when you are in contemplative meditation. That's great, absolutely wonderful. So let yourself be fed by it. See, but at the same time, if you declare that to yourself, it has a consequence. It's like you don't have to do all the other things that you were so used to. You don't have to. I saw this word somewhere. I read this word today, like on one of my little notes. It's the idea of react. It's like you don't have to react in the way that you are used to. Reacting is like act again. So react is really like, yes, you're familiar with the situation, you know how to respond to it. Respond, react. You know, it's like, yeah, that's an old pattern. Reacting is an old pattern. You act again. So that is the thing that you don't have to do. So that's the great thing with all the situations that are coming up, especially in the next couple of days when you start to practice this. I don't have to react. No, I can wait until I feel inspired to act, or to do something different than I'm used to. I don't even know how to call that, but I've possibilities enough in the next couple of days to practice it. I know that for sure. So I've overcome the world, and not reacting, but waiting for the inspiration to move through you, literally being inspired, and see what comes from that. Who knows what the outcome will be, is much more adventurous, and also brings you close, brings you into the reality that you are, seeing that you are like inspired, that it's literally flowing through you, that is the happening that brings you to life. See, and he's also touching the idea of death. It's like you think that you're going to be different when you so-called die, see death as an inevitability, and then also thinking that something changes by that. Like, well, you cannot think that any longer, because that will not be your real experience at all. This has nothing to do with what we call death in human ways. Has nothing to do with it. So your consciousness is expanding, and say, when it all comes together in that sense, is when you become whole in yourself, you see that it is one. It is one, it's not separate parts. It's a completedness. So how could completedness change? How could it possibly change? So don't try to understand it. Don't try to figure it out. So how does this come to you then if you cannot figure it out? Well, to let this occur in a whole different way, the only requirement for you is to show up and to be present, to just let this happen to you. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to compare it or analyze it or say, make your new strategy to get this. No, the plan is working. It is working out perfectly, and you're completely included in it. Okay, so here's another line that Joel shares with us. It is really upsetting, this page 106. It is really an upsetting experience to stop thinking, sit back, and just rest in God. At first, it makes you afraid, and you wonder if you will wake up tomorrow, or if you do not read your daily lesson. In this work, I've known people who gave up doing the daily lesson, and others who felt impelled to give up their affirmations and denials. And I've observed how some of them marveled that the sky did not collapse and fall down upon them for failing to go through these routines and rituals. It did not, and it will not. There's a God. There's a God, but you know right well that not too many of us believe it. We have believed that our affirmations and denials of our treatment was the God that made everything all right. And it is not God at all. So this is going directly to the healing experience, if you want. So I love it. I'm really happy that Joel shared this with us. There's a God, but you know right well that not too many of us believe it. We have believed that our affirmations and denials or our treatments was the God that made everything all right. And that is not God at all. I am is God. And every time you say I am, you are declaring the presence of the power of God in your experience. And then he says this, which is pretty extreme. You could go through the remainder of your life without a treatment, without a lesson, without reading a book, and find greater harmonies, greater peace, and greater health than you have ever known. Just through the simple realization, thank you, Father, I am. That's enough. So another great line from Joel. This really makes me happy when I read it. It's like, yeah, sometimes you just have to throw out your books or your videos or your audios and just sit down and let it happen to you. It's like I did this too. It's like sometimes some time ago, I brought all the books that I had. I brought them all, say, to a library. It's like, okay, oh, what a relief. So nice. Like, I don't have to do this anymore. And at the same time, the complete invitation to really trust your experience of all of this, your time with God, your I am experience, that will do it. Your own individual experience of that. So the treatments are not going to do this. Your daily lesson is not going to do it. Your rituals that you do, or your denials, as it's being said here, are not going to do it. Has nothing to do with it in that sense. So, like I said, there's a lot of things you don't have to do in order to experience God, to come into a conscious union with God. Like most of it, don't forget this. This really comes in now. It's like, don't forget this, that you use all your rituals and all your books and things and lines posted everywhere. You use that from your own limited perspective. So you think that that's going to work within your limited perspective, but your limited perspective has nothing to do with that, nothing to do with your wholeness. So don't try to bridge them together. That's really not necessary. So let this be your experience. Trust what is given you. Sit still and relax, or see how this is going to be revealed to you. It doesn't mean that you have to sit still all day. No, who knows how this is coming to you? It is not in your doings. It's not in being confirmed in that you're such a great person, or that you behave so well as a human being that's just like you're now entitled to have a God experience. See, all these things are not true at all. It's not going to help you at all. So if you want to see it like that, it's like, no, you cannot study this. You cannot really prepare yourself for anything. It's like if you would compare it to an say a theater play. No, this is constant improvisation. It is constant improvisation. As long as if you think that you can learn your part and then work it out well and play it so well, that still will not do it. So it's continuously improvisation, direct communication. And I love it for that. That's what life is creation, is being present, is letting it be new all the time. So that means that you don't know how to respond to any of this. Oh yeah, this is also fun. So this is about, say, the authority. When John the Baptist was in prison, he evidently became a little frightened and doubted that Jesus was all he thought he was. So he sent word and asked, art thou he that should come? In other words, are you this Christ? Are you this one we have been expecting? Jesus did not reply, yes, I am. Nor did he show John a certificate from his rabbinical school. But he did say, go and show John again those things which you do hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. If there's any other proof of the righteous of spiritual truth, if there is any other measuring tool, you have to go outside the teaching of Christianity for it. In Christianity, there's only one measuring rod. Go and show John. Through this truth, the sick are healed. Jesus never felt so superior that he was unwilling to heal the multitudes and feed them. He did not set himself up a pedestal, stayed right there with his people where they were and met their needs on their level. He even stopped the storm at sea. So John the Baptist was in prison. So that's interesting too. So Jesus didn't respond to him directly by saying, "Yes, I am the Christ." He didn't need that confirmation. He didn't really say buy into the doubt of John. He didn't buy into the doubt. It's like, no, just let it be. Just let it be. It will change. It will change. It will change. It is a bit like that. It's like the certainty is not disturbed by it. Like, what proof are you looking for if this is going to work or not? What proof are you looking for? See, that's all. In fact, you're looking for to say, have something confirmed to you. Maybe your doubts confirmed to you. Like, that's no necessity to do that. No. So the only thing that will convince you of this is your own experience, letting the revelation come to you. All right. Well, thank you so much for being present with me in this class. Thank you for showing up and just letting me all share this with you. So we're almost getting ready for a meditation here, and I hope to see you soon. So thank you for everything. Thank you so much.